let's see, record. On?
Says you're recording.
Yeah, we'll get it going. Hit the button. Mine for everything, yeah.
Good, I can read that license plate on the computer.
All right, it's working. All right, welcome everybody to Historic Preservation Commission for Monday, April 10th. I, Alderman Mark Stoyer, am here. Roger Retzlaff. Here. Dave Boyce. Here. Susan Lee.
Here,
Right now, Janine Mead and Dennis Doucette have called and said they will not be here. Patty Olson should be here, but do we have a forum? We have a forum, so that's what we have right now, and if Patty shows up later, that'll be fine. Nobody else in the audience right now. Approval of the minutes. Do you have a motion to that effect? Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. No communications were received. Old business, nothing here. Notice these minutes are, the agendas will be a little different than what we've had in the past, so we're, with the way it's working. Design reviews, consideration with possible action on a building permit application to replace wood siding with vinyl siding for 642, 644 South in Addison. And I don't know if you've had a chance to take a peek at this. I know, Jason, you sent out an email discussing this, and there seemed to be a little bit of concern, if you will. That was the tone I got from your email, and I don't know if you could just reiterate that a little bit.
Do you want the full story?
Yes, that would be nice.
In early 2016, the city of Green Bay received a complaint about this property because of some peeling paint on the siding. And as of that time, one of the city inspectors began working with the owner to remediate this issue. At no time did the city inform the owner that they had to come to the HPC for an exterior change. And the owner had communicated his desire to re-side the house in vinyl. So, within the last month, the city of Green Bay told the owner he has to come before the HPC. Unfortunately, during that same time, a representative from the city of Green Bay, one of the inspectors, advised the owner to proceed with re-siding it as soon as possible. So the house is currently in the middle of being re-sided. There is no owner's representative here to discuss this. And that's the end of my productive commentary on this.
Well, that seems to be an interesting little piece there. I mean, there's a couple things here. We have city staff stating that they could go ahead with it, so they were listening to them. There was also the thread that they need to come before us, and they didn't. So that's a little concerning, I would say. I don't know if anybody else has anything they'd like to add to that. David?
Could we refer this to the legal department to get it squared away?
I think one of the issues we have though, David, we're advisory. I don't know if we don't really have powers that way, but.
Yeah. Well, it's not a matter of whether or not it's legal or whether or not we can interfere with it. It's just for the city to acknowledge that did happen and have it acknowledged in a way that benefits the community.
should be some
Uh,
sort
you-
of comment or statement
I-
from our
Yeah,
commission
it should be
to
an
the
official-
city inspector's
Yeah,
department
there should
as
be
to what happened here.
a statement issued by the.
Look at this
HPC.
nice long table, huh?
Yes.
And take a bit to.
Hello.
Congratulations on your aldermanic, is it, you're an alderman now for Marinette? Congratulations, that's
Oh,
very
It
nice.
happened.
Actually, we're in the
Re-elected,
process,
what?
Re-elected.
Re-elected.
we're in the process of discussing one of the items on the agenda. so-
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were in session.
Yes, we are in session.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi.
Hi, I'm Matt Buchanan, I'm new with the city,
Oh, Abby, okay.
development specialist.
Okay,
Sorry,
well,
not
great,
Juliet,
welcome
I thought
aboard.
you would
Yeah, we started at 4:15, so,
apologize.
that's fine. I do want to mention that Jason Flatt is also here, I was in the beginning. We're actually talking about 642, 644 South Madison. And I think one of the concerns we have, Wendy, is the fact that one of the city inspectors, I guess, mentioned to this owner that they can move ahead with final. We are advisory, but that they also need to come before us, and they're not here, or they haven't. They decided not to do that, so I think they probably would know that we would probably bring forward problems that are going on because of it. So David and Susan Lee suggested that we get some sort of a letter from our commission, just to, there's really, being an advisory group, we don't have that power right now, but I still think we need to make a statement. Yes, David?
I was just thinking, maybe we could title the letter, statement of concern, basically like a heading for it. And just select that.
Is there, Jason, I was gonna ask, is there a way that we could, maybe you could draft that letter somewhat?
Sure.
And what I would like to have it as is, this could be maybe a standard type letter, and it might change depending on the property, but if we could have some kind of a general letter of sorts, for these type of issues, I don't know if that's something that,
We can do it.
Well,
everyone's
I
different.
think, I don't think
Yeah, each
the building
situation's different.
inspectors,
It's,
different situations or not.
right,
If the building inspector is aware that the building's in a historic district and it's addressing an exterior application, they shouldn't be issuing permits
There's not.
without consulting us and so on.
right, exactly. So we feel a little slighted right now, I'll be honest.
According
I
to
don't
the
know,
letter,
it's not about being slighted, it's
Well,
about,
Well, just
you
doing.
know, the proper
Well,
procedures in the
process.
city being followed.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not due process.
even though you were advisory, the letter of the law has been clearly violated here, and it clearly requires a fine. I don't know that the city wants to pursue that, but that is what the ordinance states must happen.
All right.
Well, I think the buzzword would be deviance. It deviated from the city policy. And that, the word deviant should be in there, deviated. And I think that would address the
Yeah.
significance of it.
The city
Right.
inspector advised a property owner to commit an illegal act. That's,
Okay. Well, with that being said, I would suggest that Jason, if you could draft a letter that, to
Okay.
that effect, and I don't know if anybody has anything else. they'd like to
how
add.
irate should I be?
Well,
Well, I think firm.
we should have a motion.
I was just saying, so moved.
Well, yeah, I think we,
That's it.
Go ahead.
what I would recommend is that we move to recommend denial or revocation of a building permit for the reciting of the property at 642, 644 South Madison Street.
No permit requirement.
There isn't?
So what,
Because
not for siding,
we got rid of
Or
the
for
permit
windows.
requirement for siding
Okay.
windows some years ago,
No.
one of the communications, before you finish, Roger, one of the communications I had put in was to deal with that. So we're gonna be looking at the windows and the siding and the other elements that have in the past been put to the back. So we're hoping that we can bring that forward very shortly. Go ahead.
Well, then I suppose it should be an appropriate, let's just say, to deny any approval for reciting of the
Joe?
building at 642, 644 South Madison for non-compliance with U.S. Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, jeopardizing the historic listing of the building and thereby jeopardizing the historic status of the district. So,
That's your motion.
well, that's part one. Part two, we should require that the Director of Building Inspection appear before the commission to explain why inspection did not first consult with the Historic Preservation Commission in regards to this work, but gave erroneous instructions to the owner.
So that's a two-part for one?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, well, do we have a second for discussion? Because David, you want to say something?
Yeah. In this particular case, I wonder if we could have like an audio transcript of this particular discussion that would be submitted to the inspection department where they could have individual people sign off on it, that they heard that.
For them to do that?
Yeah, I'd like each member of to be able to hear this discussion,
Well, I think what's going to probably happen is that, for our next meeting,
or transcript.
for our next meeting, they will be here. They will be here and they'll be recorded, so
Okay,
they will be recorded.
fine.
I think that
Yeah,
would
they
be,
should
that
have a
would be enough.
representative here.
I would think that'd be enough. Yes, Jason?
For discussion, if that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, do we have a second for discussion? We have a motion on the floor.
Well, that was a second.
Second for discussion, okay, because all right. Jason?
I'm just going to throw this out there as your employee. If you took no action on this, you could perhaps recommend to the inspection department to shut down the work currently underway, saying that per the letter of the law, they have not come before the HPC despite being scheduled to come before the HPC, and it should remain shut down until such time as that they do come to the HPC. Even though you are advisory, that is your
Right. You're
Yeah,
right.
they almost had an obligation to appear here.
No, they
at this
do.
meeting.
Yeah, so,
I'd accept an amendment to the motion. Someone would like to propose that?
okay, I won't. Who would like?
You don't
Susan?
want to
Well, I mean,
check down the work?
No. I, as chair, I don't know. I suppose I can make motions too, right?
So,
I'm not saying that's a good way to make friends by any means, but
So they-
Well, this is interesting. I don't think we've, at least in my tenure or being on this committee, that we've had that situation happen where we had to actually say, shut her down. So, and I think in the past, we've probably been a little reticent at doing that because of the fact that we were advisory. But I think, well, Jason, with what you said, that we are, by statute, we do have some clout or some power that we need to move forward, so.
well, maybe I can
Make,
amend my own.
make
motion.
amend your own motion.
Okay. So I'll amend the second part of the motion to state that the work should be stopped until such time as corrective action can be taken.
And could we request that all interested parties show up, like the owners and the staff, and everybody show up to come to terms rather than
Well, I
have
think-
everybody?
Well, that will trigger it,
Stopping the
David.
work will do that.
Yeah.
That'll trigger it.
Okay,
So and if something happens where we have to have a secondary meeting, I mean, if we think it's important enough, we meet once a month, we can meet in 2 weeks. If something would happen, even for 45 minutes,
I go for
we
that.
could do that. So okay, that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave Boyce. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Okay, and are you still gonna draft something to that effect, or in fact, I think that Roger just said, just stop it, we'll take care of it, in effect, and then we'll deal with it accordingly afterwards. That's my thought.
I'll work with the building inspectors.
Okay.
My concern at this point is that
It's already started.
because no permit is required, there's even a gray area on, anyway, clearly they are in violation of this ordinance.
How, can we do something like this? David, you brought up a good point that, we should maybe check with legal and find out what, what powers or what we have in our tank, if you will, for this issue. They might say, well, because you're advisory, because of this and that, you can't do anything.
I don't think the advisory, we've got ordinances on the books that are
Okay.
not being complied with, so.
So,
The advisory doesn't matter, they never came here, they're required to come here.
so they,
Failure to do so results in a fee of $100 to $500 per instance.
okay. Well, with that being said, I think it would still be nice to have that clarification. Maybe our legal department could say, okay, because of this, then, just so that they have that ready, at the ready, so that when we do meet, they'll have it.
It's kind of like lion trainers and stuff, when they get them in the cage. The reason why the lion doesn't jump is because the stool's kind of shaky. And somebody repaired a shaky stool one time, the lion jumped and killed one. People, I want to have the best solid foundation for this particular action as we could. We got to do our very best to make sure that this is beyond reproach, whatever happens here.
Okay, so, well, Jason, like I said, you're gonna be talking with inspections, so I think what I might do too is touch base with Bill Pappy on this, and as well. And we'll just talk.
Yes.
So stay tuned. All right, next, review March 2017 building activity report. If there's anything that jumped out. I don't really see much. It's Corlier. Last page, 1100 Corlier.
That's how it is.
And,
Park shelter for city park
yeah,
system.
okay, yeah, all right. Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, just for a motion, to receive and place in file.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next, review city raised repair orders and demolitions. I don't know if there's anything.
Okay.
There were none for this month.
Okay. All right, well, make a motion, well, second yours. We can still receive and place in file. Do we have a second?
Second.
Well,
No,
there's no
there's
need
no-
to.
no need to do
there's
it.
No need to take action.
All right.
There's nothing to.
All right, we'll leave it. All right, number 4, staff project updates. Jason?
I'm focusing on the loan program. I have
Okay.
a general question for the group here. As envisioned, I had proposed a series of loans, just for round numbers, I proposed 10-year loans at 2% rate to be fully amortized and repaid monthly. Do you want to go with that? Do you want to go with, on a case-by-case basis, 5-year, 10-year, whatever they want? Do you want it to be recouped when it's sold as opposed to monthly, or all of these have certain impacts on how much you can loan, but they also have an impact on how much staff time is required. For example, if a check comes in every month, somebody's looking at it every month.
Right.
In order to have the most impact, you want to be able to recoup your money as quickly as possible, so a 5-year, getting it monthly is perhaps ideal, because then you can turn around and loan money more quickly.
More quickly for other projects. I don't know, I haven't really thought about that, but.
We should allow them to select terms, 5 years, 10 years at least. I don't know if shorter terms are possible.
Sure.
Or maybe even 3 years, something like that. I don't think you'd want to have it be paid by the time it sells, because somebody might stay in that house 30 years.
They might, and that's why I'm reluctant to abandon the monthly repayment.
Would it be a standard
Well-
type loan? You could do it such that it varies on the project? I don't know.
We could come up with some buffet options, for-
Right, I guess I don't, so you want them just to pay a lump sum at the end of the term?
The way some of our loan programs are already running, we have a secondary position on the deed, maybe using the wrong words. And in order to minimize some of the administration costs, the city recoups the money only when the property is sold, as opposed to receiving a monthly payment check that somebody has to turn around and deposit and keep track of and send an
So how
escrow
do you
note
put
with
the
it.
lien on the property? Isn't there a fee to do that?
Yeah, we file a
Yeah.
mortgage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You file a lien
Yes.
against the property with the county.
I'm not of my expertise on this, but I'm learning at a reasonable pace.
Well,
Yeah,
it's gonna be, I would think that over a year, you know, let's say we work this out, we might find out after a year that, well, this worked pretty well, let's stick with it. We might decide to change something down the road. I mean, I would think that we could adjust accordingly. I don't know.
For a revolving loan, we put certain items as certain terms, like if it's a, you know, you maybe windows and siding, maybe the shelf life is a little lower on those things, and maybe put those in the 3 to 5 year range, and then put maybe something that was a longer duration if it's, I don't know, what would be the other items that they're gonna do, if they're gonna redo their electrical or something like that, maybe those have a longer shelf life. But you could figure out maybe things in which categories they are. That's what we do for the revolving loan, but these are all gonna be facade, are these all
They're all
facial?
10,000 or less.
Okay, they're
So
10,000 or less, so, yeah, I thought, 5-year term or something, you figure out what that is, 2% is pretty low, to find out what that monthly amount is. We do automatic payment, auto draft, that stops the check coming in, and we, you know, they have to do it auto drafting, and then that way it does eliminate some of our staffing, so they
this is
know.
all handled through the clerk's office, correct?
No, this is handled through 6th floor finance department,
Oh,
and economic development for our revolving loan fund program that we have.
so,
So there, I'm just saying that there are some programs that we've figured out ways to eliminate some of the pieces of the puzzle, and what has worked with our program, but what would work with this program, I mean, this is a new program and we can devise it to work best for the proprietor and the property owner, so.
so what do you have revolving loans associated with?
Ours are for a business transaction. Often so if it's an acquisition, they go up to 20 years for buying a property. We always work in conjunction with the bank, and we have other guidelines to go with that. If it's
So it
machinery or
supports
equipment.
acquiring property for the business to locate in.
Right, so we just had somebody buy the Main Street Commons that was in revolving loan fund. And it's amortized over 20 years as the max, 4% is the interest rate, and so that's how we work in that. But if somebody is going to, just so that maybe they're gonna buy some machinery and equipment, we know that there's usually a shorter shelf life on machinery and equipment, very short with some technology pieces. But we can, the max, we can go up maybe some, or just 10%, or 10 years. And then we have things that are at 5 years, and working
So-
capital and things.
Do you think that'll take maybe just a little bit of time? I mean, are you looking for an answer tonight? I mean, we can throw answers.
No.
You know, I would think that if we could, in a short period of time, kind of get to a point.
I'm just looking for more discussion on this.
Yeah, well,
I like the idea of different periods, options for different periods.
Perhaps a
Is-
lower rate
would-
for-
Will this, will the interest on this loan be tax deductible?
We just sent about a 1099 at the end, and they decide, and they figure that out with their accountant, depending on what their
Yeah.
scenario
So
is.
there'll have to be,
okay.
they should have I think they should have the option of a monthly payment, and that benefits the loan program by bringing the money in more quickly.
It does.
So,
You mentioned the lower part too. I mean, if you, let's say if you had a 3-year loan versus a 5-year loan, you know, you if you pay it off more quickly, you would think you could have a better benefit, so maybe it'd be a little lower rate.
You'd be paying less in interest even at the same rate, but I don't know if there's something to
Well,
help
or,
encourage
you know, you
them.
should be, yes, David?
Could you set it up so that there would be a bonus if you paid in full on each anniversary? You have a sliding scale, you know, if you pay the remainder on the anniversary of it, it'd be.
I think
it
that
might
would be laborious for the staff. That's the
Sure.
only
Mhm.
challenge that I have with that one, but I think there's some merit to figuring that out. But
Which-
anything that we can try to have that effort go back into making more loans versus trying to
Right.
maintain the loans that are there would be something that we.
Right.
Right now, the only cost of the loan is the interest, so.
You know, if it's a
And
low-
hopefully that rolls back in so we can create more, is that the thought, is that,
Could we
It's
maybe?
below market rate.
Yeah.
well, that's for furnaces and all kinds of other improvements.
Right.
That's right.
Yes, and what I modeled was a loan of $10,000, 2%, you'd be looking at a monthly payment of a little under $100 for 10 years, which makes it affordable for anybody who's got a bad roof and
Mhm.
one-story.
I mean, that's definitely a good deal.
Well, they
I
get
think that sounds
25%
like a-
back from the
Yeah.
state.
It's like a used car payment. It's
Yeah.
pretty affordable.
Right.
And then they're gonna be benefiting because they probably have insulation and other things, and
Right.
so it's gonna probably add right to so they would have cost savings on the insulation. and
Hello?
others.
Historic Preservation
Yes.
Commission. I'm Brian Hickman. I
Oh.
was on the docket for today.
Yes, we started at 4:15.
I know, I apologize for being unorganized. I just realized the meeting was at 4:15. Is it too late?
Well, we already spoke to the matter, I don't know if what can we do? What do you
We
open?
can- Why don't we get through this first? And
Yeah, why don't you
we can-
hold on, Brian, and
Okay.
then I'll just kind of.
Sorry.
figure what you That's fine. So as far as, you know, I would hope, you know, next month is Preservation Month. So I think it would be nice if we had that as an announcement. That we'd say, okay, we have this loan program that we're gonna be bringing forth, da-da-da, these are the terms in celebration of Preservation Month. You know, we're coming forward with this. So I think that might be a nice opportunity for our commission to get that off. So why don't we aim for that? Yep. Okay, I was gonna say on the staff go ahead, Roger. You had
So,
something
no,
else?
why don't you talk first?
Okay, I was,
I'd like to move that over the
right,
discussions.
yeah, right, we'll just get through these last few things here. All right, I think the one thing that I noticed in the minutes, we talked about the preservation awards, and those are coming out next month. So Patty Olson mentioned that she's already worked on the 161 North Oakland, and she sent me a Word document. It didn't come through, so I haven't seen it yet, but she's pretty well moving forward with the description for that. The watermark project, that's you and me, right, Roger? You and I, we're gonna work on that? And we have to get some dialogue or some wording together for that project. David, you were gonna work on the car museum, correct? We need something soon, because just so we can kind of coordinate that for a council meeting, probably, I think it might be May. Do you have a list of council meetings next month? I think it's May 19th, maybe?
They're in my phone, I apologize, I left them on my desk.
No,
moved
I
that
probably
out.
should have it too. But it's somewhere mid to later May, I'm looking at, that we have that information. So we got 5 weeks, but David, if you can get on the museum, I know Janine said she wasn't gonna help on that, but who else? There was one other building. Do you remember what that was offhand? I thought it'd be in the minutes, but it's not
Oh,
listed.
that's why I was checking, yeah, I'm doing one that was kind of thinking, yeah,
Do
I
you
seem to
remember-
be doing it this coming week.
Well, do you remember who, yours was what, Susan?
I don't remember. And
Okay.
that's why I have to check my other notes, it wasn't in the minutes.
Okay, so we'll need something in, the next couple of weeks, before we meet again. And then if you can send a Word document or something to myself, and I can forward that over to Jason, or CC Jason on that, that would be good. And Roger, I'll stay in touch with you on the watermark. I'll gather some data, and we'll put something together. Oh,
I wanted to real quickly go back to staff meetings real quick, but Jason and I went down to Madison, and we went to historic tax credit workshop. We thought it was an exceptional workshop. We thought it was, we met with some of our developers that are working on high high-profile projects in the community right now. But anyway, they had just a full day's worth of information. And then the other thing is that I'm working with one of the lobbyists that's working on the budget as far as, I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's a historic tax cap. It's critical that we change that for some of the developments that we have in our community. Shower and Schumacher, the Whitney Townhome just got underneath they did get the application in before the deadline for Whitney Townhome, so it's probably a go-forward project, but there are others, Larson Green, there's, there's other projects
School.
that are, school.
The old
there's,
Webster
there's,
School.
That's right, so there's a number of projects that would really be critically impacted if this does not go through. This Friday, we're trying to get a couple of legislators in Green Bay to go through some of the projects and have some things kind of coming together.
Okay.
So as that evolves, but I just want to let you know that as a staff, we are paying very close attention to that. We're working with our legislators, we're working with people that are trying to give us a voice and explain how important this is for our community. So we did go down and talk to the people in Madison when we were there about that, and so they're well aware of our pinch with having the budgetary restrictions put on that.
David?
If there's a meeting with legislators, is there a way for some of the commission to be in on the meeting?
I will find out how that would go, yeah.
Sure,
And so,
I'd like to have the opportunity, I'd like to ask for the opportunity in a timely manner.
that's right, we're trying to get Representative Nygren here in particular to look at Pete's Garage and over to the cannery in the Titletown district. He only has a real small window of time, and so it's going to be kind of a
Yeah,
fast tour
right.
and hopefully very impactful in that. And it's on Good Friday, so I don't know how this will all work out.
It's
but,
only half a day of
We'll
work.
see, yeah. Anyway, so I just want you to know that as a staff, we're working on some other
Okay.
historic tax issues that I know that this commission would like to know.
So isn't there a reasonably good payback on providing?
It's
for-
got a fabulous story, you're right.
So, if we can show the numbers and, how quickly revenue is accrued through these projects, that provides
And
a
even a bigger
benefit
story
over
of
and
how long.
above the credits provided.
And part of the, for one thing, is that the money is a great payback, but some of these buildings have been, Jason and Howard like to point out that some of these businesses have been vacant for 20 to 30 years in prominent corners of downtowns. And so that's just critical to reengage those and how big of an impact they do provide.
Is there something you could put together? It would be nice through economic development, over time, and I don't know if when you folks do your reports, but just looking at some of these historic structures and finding out what that payback is, what are we adding to the fabric with those projects?
We do.
You know,
track that, so-
if you could,
Yeah.
even if it's just some kind of statement or just a general feel of what's coming in. So, Jason?
Right, that's it for our.
Okay.
John
Thank you.
Nygren will be in Marinette on the 21st of this month. If you have a brief blurb for his public comment session, I could read that at him. I encourage you to support that, whatever it is.
That's okay. What is the push against it? I suppose it's, budget, it's like anything else. It's just a matter of
I think it's a $10
priority.
million cap, and so one big project in Milwaukee could just take it all, and that's the end of all the rest of our.
For the whole state,
There's
9 to 10
currently
million.
no cap. The governor is proposing a $10 million cap.
It's interesting. Well, if we need to write a letter or do something on our behalf too, keep us in the loop too. Let us know if we can help. All right, is there anything else, Jason? David?
I'd like to make sure that we notify the recipients of
The awards,
awards
yes.
about the timeline, because all of a sudden, they might not be ready, if we just spring it on them. I want to make real sure that they're in the loop.
Well,
with this.
It behooves us that we have to get this done in the next couple of weeks before we have our next meeting, because the awards will be in May. So I'm gonna get Patty Olson's letter. Susan, I'll wait for yours over the next few weeks. Roger and I will finish our watermark. We'll figure it out. And then, that's very important, David, too, get the museum information, just get that together. It
Got
doesn't have to
stuff
be,
together from before.
do the letter from before.
Sure.
You know, if, it doesn't have to be overly lengthy. I mean, we spent about 15, 20
Mine
minutes.
generated everything.
Thanks for some.
Thanks, man.
Okay. All right, well, that's important. We need to get that done, so. As far as the awards themselves, did we order the plaques?
No.
I think we'll just
I think
give them
once
something.
Well, normally what we do is hand out, at least at this point, is hand out a certificate that the mayor's office puts together.
Right.
And then they're given the plaques after the fact. So,
All right, and we'll have to figure that out as far as, throwing that in for our budget and things.
So I think what we do need is these minutes that are coming out for this meeting is a listing of the awards as we had discussed them at the last meeting, so that there's a clear.
And I was a little disappointed with the minutes that way. I know that they're gonna be doing it a little differently. They're a lot shorter. I don't think there's as much substance right now, but.
That's why I looked at it, checked to see it
And
I had and wasn't in
and we
here.
talked- we
I
did
did
talk
go back
about
and look
that.
at my other notes.
We did talk about that, but, we did it a little differently before. Now, this is, we're going through city commissions and such, so.
Well, what I would also would like to see under the staff projects, we should have a list of the active projects
Of
on
what
the agenda.
projects?
Active?
Right.
Oh, active,
So
okay.
it's under reports, so, I mean, if nothing's happened since the last meeting, or staff can say there's no report on that item.
Right.
We should, for all projects, that
So there should be a standard line.
there should just be a list, a
Yes.
line item for each one.
Okay.
That we maintain until it's completed.
All right, we'll ask Stephanie to do that. All right, anything else, folks? Otherwise,
Well, just, where are we with CLG?
Mark,
When is that going to?
we should contact Ron Dean again.
do you know when their meeting is in Astor? Any idea when their neighborhood meeting is?
think
I don't know
they
if
had their- Recently, in March, they,
I don't know if we'll be ready for April. I would like to, we need to be prepared, when we meet with Astor. So it could be Preservation Month again. I could see us having our meeting in May. So,
I'm not sure what you mean.
with the neighborhood association, because I think, we had Ron Dean, who was the president of the historic neighborhood association.
Yeah.
For Astor. And I think it's important that, if we're gonna work on an ordinance for any effect on this, that we need to.
Well, we've got a new ordinance drafted.
Right,
Correct.
correct, but what we're doing is, we're playing that off of the group. We're letting them look at it. We've had, Jason and Ron have had feedback back and forth. We're working on trying to work together on this
Well, I think-
as well as we can.
We need to have a monthly report on the status of that, so we can.
Okay. There is nothing-
Otherwise,
nothing-
it's gonna get forgotten and it'll be ignored.
I sent some correspondence to Ron within the last month about this. I think ideally going forward, what we need to do is encourage Ron to have Astor consider a neighborhood association resolution supporting the ordinance
Okay.
or no action.
Well, so are you, okay, with that being said, Roger, are you saying that should be another line item as well, CLG
Well, that should be
status? Just
under
put-
the staff project updates, that the status of the CLG. We should get a monthly report on that.
Okay,
And if necessary, I'll make a motion right now
do that.
that every month in our agenda, we need to list the progress on pursuing the CLG ordinance,
Did you want to also
so that
include
it can go
the?
before this common council
Okay.
to be either approved or rejected.
Did you also want to look at the list of active projects? Did you want to just add
Well,
that as
yeah,
well?
I think we should have line items. for-
Why don't you just put that as a motion to add both of those?
Okay. And then, we should also, as part of that motion, we should also have a listing of all staff projects that are active.
Okay, that would be line, that item 5, so. All right, with that motion, do we have a second? Second by Dave Boyce. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, all opposed? That passes. Okay, all right, well, we're here, so I guess, are we willing to tackle that again? We're here.
Right.
So, do we have, David, you had a motion to open the floor? Reopen the floor?
Yes, I'd like to open
Okay.
the floor for, please, my vote.
For Brian Hickman. Okay, do we have a second? Second by Roger. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, Brian, well, it's kind of interesting and setup. We talked about this for a bit already.
Once again, I truly apologize for being late.
Well, that's fine.
Are you the owner or the
No,
contractor?
yeah, I'm the owner.
You're the owner, okay. Well, we do have some concerns. You may or may not realize that. Jason Flatt is working in our office. He's in the historic preservation end of things, and sent an email. We kind of looked at it, and we don't know every nuance or every element of this project, but I think the concern that we have is that, that you're within the historic district, and that you need, anybody that does any alteration to their exterior needs to come before our commission. That's just how we do things. I mean, we have an ordinance to that effect, and, and I don't know what the statute, do you have a number on that, Jason? or-
13-1507.
Okay, so it is in the statutes that you need to come before us, and at least, and we can advise, talk about things, look at different things, but it seems like the project's already started, and it's kind of like, our hands are tied, because you went forward with this. So I guess with that being said, I'd like to just hear, your side of what's going on, and, why you decided to kind of go the route you're
Sure.
going.
I mean, the situation was, my hand was sort of forced by a city inspector that had written me up for peeling paint.
Can I ask who that was?
Tim Meaves?
Tim Meaves.
Okay, I've never met a person.
I know.
But anyway, with that said, about 13 or 14 years ago, I painted the house myself. Okay, took everything right down to the wood, used the best paint at the time, duration, it was some $50 a gallon. Did a beautiful job on the whole house. Okay, the thing was tight, but that only lasted 10 years before it started peeling, this, that, and the other thing. In order to do it now, I live out of the city now. I don't have the time to do this job myself, so in order to do it, I had to find a contractor. Every contractor had their hands tied by the lead paint thing, this, that, and the other thing. And unfortunately, I had to look at it in order to comply with the inspector's wishes and everything. I needed to do this and be done with it. For the same price, I could put the siding on it, and if I had to paint it here, I'm gonna have to paint it again in 10 years or 12 years or whatever, and it was gonna be a continuing scenario, and I, quite frankly, was not aware of the statute. I suppose that's probably my onus, but I just honestly did not know it, and the inspector caught me right as the job was starting, and I tried to jump in and get this, through and approved as quick as possible. Timing wise, it was, I missed the last meeting by about 12 hours when I got notified of the statute.
If something does come up where, we meet once a month, but, if it's a pressing need, we can always call a special meeting. So but that's neither here nor there. Okay, well, you can see what, the dynamic here, the dynamics that are going on.
If I can to just add one point to that, since I did learn of that, and I did live in Astor Park for 12 years. I lived in that unit. I rented it before I purchased it. I never had any intention of even getting in the real estate investment business. It was just kind of something that happened. As it turned out, like I said, I've moved out of the city now, I still own the house. But with that said, you know, I always loved living in Astor Park because of the historical nature of it. And I always respected that, and it's a great thing. Truly, honestly, if I could have left it with those original cedar slats on there, I would have. And all things considered, as I put this together, I discussed leaving the exact setup the way it is. So as we're going through this, its appearance is designed to look exactly the way the cedar slats looked originally, including there's upper dormers, and I spent extra money on siding that has that cedar shake appearance to even make the dormers look exactly the same. So I moving in the direction I'm doing, I'm trying to do as much as I can to make it look the way it always had.
So the band boards and the other details, that's staying?
Oh, that's staying, absolutely, yes.
I think that was our big concern, that generally what happens with these
Okay.
siding jobs is all of this is lost.
Okay,
And you've lost the character of the house.
Sure.
You're not respecting the house.
sure. I'll double check, but I'll make sure that, you know, we never discussed those. I assumed he was gonna work around them.
Yeah,
But
see
I'll
the
make,
band boards and the other details.
I'll make certain that he does.
So was the wood siding torn off the house?
No, I think he worked over it.
So where are you at right now on the project? What percentage is finished?
I
If you
honestly
have
can't tell you. I was driving into town when I realized I came straight here, so I haven't seen it.
Is anybody taking a look at it? Jason?
As
You?
of Friday, what I could see was there was the insulation board over everything you see in the photo furthest from you right there, Mark. And the actual siding was up maybe 10% of the height of that facade.
Okay. Well, it's a big house, there's no doubt about it. Roger, do you have any comments, or?
Well, at this point, no. It's,
Yeah.
I think we made a motion. We can't really, because it's, we already know that it doesn't comply with the federal guidelines for this type of work, we can't approve it. So,
I know that's not
I
what you
think-
want to hear, but it's like, you know, I mean, one of the things we're working.
well, I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
that's the issue with our ordinance is that, you know,
Right.
The situation is, the
problem
work
is-
was started before anybody came before our commission. That's the problem.
Right, and I'm sure there wasn't any malice or ill will that way, but, you know, what happens is that, you know, we've had other situations where folks have tried to do that or try to make up their own rules along the way, and what happens is then it compromises our ability to do our job, you know, which is to try to maintain that integrity. I mean, I think with Astor being in that area, it is a National Historic District, so there's certain standards that are set up for that. So in some respects, it'll probably look very, very nice, but, you know, it doesn't read to the level of the law.
well, the problem is that there are these federal standards for historic preservation. The building has national listing, and that it's in a historic district that is listed nationally. So when you put the siding on that's not compliant, then it loses its listing. Okay. So if you wanted to do additional remodeling there, and this time apply for historic tax credits to help pay for the work, you wouldn't be able to get them because you've already damaged the building to a point where they would say, well, we can't justify the listing anymore. So, and then every time a building is delisted, that jeopardizes the character of the whole historic district, and it potentially reduces the property values of everybody in the district. So it has a
chain reaction.
right.
So, you know, David?
I think one of the purposes of these rules are that they have a continuous landscape of historic buildings instead of a here and there kind of thing. It's like losing teeth, you know, when you get a building off the registry.
And we've lost, even in Astor, I mean, since 1980, we've lost 15% of the buildings in Astor. You know, the hospitals or, you know, neglect of a home. I mean, we've had homes that torn, you know, the owner just neglected it. And, you know, that's a shame too. So, I don't know. You know, I'm sure it's not what you want to hear, but, you know, I will say that we are an advisory group, so, you know, whatever comes forward, you know, we are going to be reporting out to city council now, and I'm on the council. You know, people can always come forward and speak at council. You know, if a committee votes one way and if you don't agree with it, you can always make your case, but I don't know what else.
There's really,
Well,
Roger's right,
it's
there's
just-
nothing we can do because the work
Right.
was started without anybody coming here first.
So, when the inspector talked to you, I mean, were they just driving around or what? What was
Well, you know, as it turned out, this is about a year in the making. So I got my
Okay.
first notification in January of 2016, it would have been. And the first thing he gave me was a deadline of something like April 1st, which, I mean, you know, couldn't even get out of winter yet. So I asked for an extension through the summer, which he granted me. And then as I went through the process of looking for these contractors and then, you know, most of these national siding guys and painting guys, you know, they only want to do a hard sell with you present. And, you know, it turned into a longer process than I wanted to. So then we were in steady discussion throughout the year. As I was going through this, I was explaining everything to him, and it wasn't until, you know, a month ago or what have you that I was first notified of this. So I had no idea up until that point in time.
Okay.
What percentage of the house actually has a problem with peeling paint? Is it a kind of endemic all over the house, or is it just a small area?
It's pretty bad. I mean, I recognize that as an issue, you know, and again, just all things considered with my life, living, you know, 3 hours away now and things like that. If I would have had possibly some more time or not so much of a deadline, I probably could have, you know, taken care of it a different way. But I felt, again, without understanding these rules, you know, I felt like my hands were tied with the inspector. I had to comply with his wishes, and I was doing everything that I can to do that and get the job completed as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So, did the inspector ever mention to you that you need to come before our board?
About 30 days ago. Matter of fact, the day after
So,
the last meeting.
so they did that, but in the process, you already started your project, right? I mean, you already started putting up the siding that's already being put on.
Well, it had just begun, and then he had just gotten in touch with me again the day after your last meeting, which
Okay.
I think was the 12th.
And that was our concern, because, you know, until something is definitive to say yes or no, you know, it's like the project started without our input whatsoever, so, you know, that's, you know, I feel bad about it, but, you know, that's kind of where we're at, so. Should we?
Well, we can't take an ad, this is just.
Yeah, we're just speaking now. We already made a motion to the effect that, do you have it in word?
Well, let's
worded?
first move that we take up the rules again.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to close the floor. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, all opposed? Okay, we'll just discuss, and you can listen. Go ahead, Roger.
Oh, well, yeah, I think we let the motion stand, work out something with, let's get inspection in here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with them as well, so there may have been some, this, that, and the other thing. We have to kind of find out everything, and, you know, our legal department possibly as well, but we just wanna make sure that everything's in line. So, I mean, right now, we made a motion to stop the project, correct?
Right, so we're gonna have to let inspection figure out what they wanna do there.
So they will, I guess they'll be in touch with you right now? No, I mean, are they working on the building right now?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Like I said, I haven't seen it in several weeks, so I'm not
All
sure.
right.
It's,
Well, we'll talk to our inspection department, and we do have your number, I believe. What is your number, Brian?
920-316-0222.
Okay. 0222, okay. Well, that's the best we can do right now. We'll keep in touch with you and then with the inspection department, and they'll keep in touch as well, so.
Okay. All right.
All right?
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
for-
Sorry again for.
That's fine. Not a problem.
Before it goes, is there a way that he could make an effort to see where they're at? Call on the phone or something and find out and report to you personally, maybe? and so that you
I
can-
would say right now it's in the inspection department's hands.
Oh, okay,
I'll contact inspection tomorrow and say, here's the situation.
okay.
Please deal with it accordingly and get back to us.
Great,
So, okay?
yeah.
All right. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No,
Is there anything
before
else?
we,
Do we have?
I'd like to recommend an item for
New business?
our agenda next month.
Okay.
I think the issue that certain aspects of work on historic homes, that don't require permits, gets us into these situations. So. we
Like the
need-
windows.
Well-
I think we need to have a plan where the building inspection department notifies all owners of property in historic districts or other historically listed properties on an annual basis, indicating that they're required to come before the commission for all aspects of renovation of the exterior of the building.
Maybe
Okay, I
like a
could,
letter go out like in January, so people thinking ahead for spring and summer projects, so they've got plenty of time
Right.
to get their project organized and
That-
come before us.
that would be
So
very easy to-
January, February, that annual
Okay.
letter.
did you want to write it in such a way, or Jason?
Well,
What I
we
would,
can-
this
we
would be,
can- all we can do is
just,
I'm
This could be a
recommending we have it
communication.
on the agenda for next month, so it really needs to be in just,
well, I will do this, our council meeting's a week from Tuesday, tomorrow. Is today Monday?
Yeah.
because we can't take action on it.
No.
I'm just recommending.
What I'm saying is that, Roger, what I can do is I can put a communication in the council with that being stated, and I'll say this is for HPC. That way it's notified, everybody in the city knows about it. It's out there.
Okay.
So that, I would say,
Well,
so I
everybody
would,
in the city doesn't have to.
no, but it's just, it's out there, it's on public record. So for me to put I could put that communication in. If you,
That's fine.
could you do me a favor and I
Send
think
you an
you're
email.
a nice wordsmith with all that. If you could just put that together and email that to me or text me, I will put that in as a communication at city council. And I really agree with, the inspection department, who was I talking to? They were stating that because we can't do much about windows or doors or exterior, it's kind of like some years ago, my understanding was that Alderman Zima had put in a communication to rescind that, so we don't have to deal with that. That needs to be back. I think Cheryl Wick might have brought that up. She stated that, so I think that we need to have that as, that needs to be part of our whole ordinance and that as well. So, you'll give me that communication, inspection department, I'm gonna talk to Cheryl Wick about that as well. Jason, when are you coming in this week?
Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, if there are some things that come up before then, or that I'll let you know.
A quick question,
Yes.
from a place of ignorance. In Marinette, we get a quarterly newsletter, city newsletter via the water bill and all things. I don't know if you have some similar existing line of communication to one sentence reminder can go into, like
Well, I've got my email.
for all the citizens that receive in their mailbox then, if there's a quarterly newsletter or a.
You know, I'm not really sure about that. I don't think we do.
I don't think so. I know there's nothing with our water bill and nothing with property tax bill.
I don't believe
That's
so.
from the colony, actually.
If you see something that you think might work that way, do you want to just, you know?
I don't know what it might be, because not living here, I don't get the same mail that you guys
I don't.
do.
I'm not aware, I
I'm
don't,
not- What is?
yeah, we haven't gotten anything.
I'm just saying, Marinette, every resident of the city of Marinette gets a quarterly newsletter, and
Oh.
it comes as part of the water bill statement or
Okay,
whatever,
that's-
so,
yeah.
Which is a good idea, that's what.
you know, it tells you when the dump is open, that kind of stuff, you know, dump hours, when you can and can't park on
Yeah, I
things.
live
We get,
in,
Well,
I
you're-
know in Alloway, they get, every resident gets sent or property owner gets sent a little magazine that has all of the services listed. So, but that's an annual thing there. I don't know what Green Bay has. I guess is,
we,
they don't send anything.
through Public Works, we get, I mean, they'll send out mailings on, you know, rubbish, you know, garbage pickup, leaf pickup, just general things during the course of the year. We get some calendar stuff like that.
Well, that might be a good place to make your mass communication to everybody, just as a reminder that
Well, again, it doesn't have to go to everyone. It only has to go to properties in historic districts and other properties that have historic listing, either locally or nationally.
And the fact is, we don't have a
And there
tremendous.
is supposed to be a database of all of those properties. So,
Database, historic properties, okay.
I guess my hope was saving on the postage if you already had
Right.
something that's going out to.
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
And
another-
quarterly water bill is a good idea.
Another way you could have that in the newsletters of the neighborhood associations.
Yeah, I think it would be a mistake to combine it with something else, because then it just gets tossed as junk.
You know, until we get a citywide ordinance, I would think that it would be a shot in the dark kind of thing. Eventually, when we get a citywide ordinance, then I think there might be other opportunities to get that out. So, but that's a good point. All right, anything else? Otherwise, make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Second, that's Susan Lee. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Thank you all, as usual. You're wonderful crowd.